Gravity Falls is one of the most intriguing and fascinating shows, and within it, we've seen a plethora of powerful artifacts. In this video, I've compiled the best ones to determine which one is the most powerful of all. Let's start with the Infinite Pizza, which, to be honest, I think is one of the most insignificant. You can't do much with this pizza. Its only power is that it regenerates so you can eat until you're stuffed. But it wouldn't even solve world hunger, because it only regenerates for zoos. So, since it doesn't do much more than make you gain weight, it ranks at the bottom. Next up is the President's Key. The only good thing this key does is open any door or lock in the United States. It doesn't grant any other powers like the objects we'll see later, and it's not that impressive because it has a major downside. It only opens doors built before 1887. How on earth are you supposed to know that? Moving on, we have the Voice Changing Potion. This potion doesn't offer much advantage to the user. It would only be useful for playing a prank.
It's a prank, bro!
But not for defending yourself or being superior to others. It really doesn't compare to the power of some other objects that might seem insignificant. The next item is actually a robot. And it sounds pretty ironic that despite being a large robot, it's almost useless. I'm talking about the Gideon Bot. This big robot has a great size and apparently great strength, but the downside is that it's not as smart as other robots, nor does it have an advanced structure or design. It can be hard to control, which is a huge disadvantage. You simply cannot trust this robot to take it into a war. So its size doesn't help much other than crushing someone, if it even manages to hit. The next object might have been a bit underestimated. Maybe many remember it as one of the smartest objects, but it turns out to be quite snarky. It's the mailbox that can receive messages from alternate dimensions. It can be very useful for obtaining valuable information by asking key questions, like the one Dipper asked. But it has many downsides, one being that the messages can be misleading or dangerous. I mean, how can you be sure this mailbox is telling the truth? Plus, you need to be on good terms with this talking mailbox, because if it doesn't like you, it'll simply call you stupid and explode with anger, just like it did with Mabel. The next item is the Mind Control Ties. These ties have a pretty interesting power. The black tie basically controls the mind of whoever wears the blue tie. Some may think controlling others' mind by manipulating what they do could be very useful, and it could be in specific situations. But the truth is that this pair of ties doesn't go beyond just treating the other person like a puppet. And well, that doesn't make you omnipotent enough to destroy the world. You can only make the other person say and do whatever you want. In the next spot, we find the Fairy Dust. Because even though it seems very insignificant, it can provide abilities like levitation. But its most well-known power is that it has a sleep-inducing effect on any creature, even unicorns. But the big downside is that you need an amount equivalent to the size of the creature you want to put to sleep. Its power doesn't cost anything more than sleep. The same goes for the Cloning Copier Machine. This device, as its name suggests, can create copies of virtually anything. Whether you want to copy yourself, a part of your body, or even clone another person. The downside with this copier is that everything it clones is made of paper. In fact, it has many disadvantages. If the sheet gets wrinkled, your clone will come out deformed. And rain will completely destroy all the copies you created. Plus, just because they're copies doesn't mean they have the same mentality as you. They have their own consciousness, which is a huge risk because they could rebel. This is why this machine is ranked here, as it could create a disposable army. This next artifact may not be remembered by many, but it's the Smarticle Accelerator, which is just a machine that helps you become smarter, allowing you to solve extremely difficult problems and perform intellectual tasks with great ease. Dipper himself demonstrated this in the episode The Gulf War. This could be really useful in situations that require a high level of ingenuity and mental skill. It could undoubtedly be a powerful weapon, as things could be discovered depending on who uses it and for what purpose. Its downsides are that while it makes you very smart, it doesn't mean you'll make good decisions. Another disadvantage is that the intelligence is only temporary, and you need to wear the helmet for the machine to provide you with the intelligence. But despite all this, it's still a great artifact. The next spot is taken by Cupid's potions, and many might think these potions are very simple, as they would only be used to make your crush fall in love with you. But the fact that it can manipulate others' emotions is akin to witchcraft. The big downside is that these potions can be easily reversed with another potion, so the manipulation isn't irreversible. Plus, each potion could have a different effect. But what more could you do with this? You can't exactly make your enemy fall in love with you by giving them one of these potions. Maybe it works for a while, as I forgot to mention that the effects of these potions disappear after 3 hours. That's why it's ranked here. I'm sure many of you would want to have the truth-telling teeth in your possession. This artifact basically makes whoever wears it say nothing but the truth, which could lead to secrets or reckless information being revealed, causing unnecessary problems. The only benefit I see to this artifact is that you could obtain information, like a password to deactivate a bomb or a weapon of mass destruction. If you just want to use it to make your partner tell you the truth, you might soon end up single. The next item is the Electron Carpet. This curious furry carpet allows you to swap bodies with others using electricity. The truth is, its power depends greatly on the person with whom you swap bodies, so I don't see much utility in ranking it higher. Next, we have the Persec mushrooms, a type of legendary mushroom found in the forest of Gravity Falls. If they are ground into a gel and applied to the forehead, overnight they make the user smarter. Many might think this is a great advantage, as it would practically enhance the perception and could reveal hidden information or even give you the intelligence needed to build a weapon or another object capable of solving problems, or the opposite. But the big downside is that obtaining too much information can be overwhelming, and you could even go mad. However, there's indeed a great risk if these mushrooms fall into the wrong hands. The Bill Cipher Zodiac could be one of the most powerful objects in Gravity Falls. It's so powerful that it's capable of defeating Bill Cipher himself. It holds many secrets and powers related to the stars, and of course the Zodiac. The big downside is that to use it and unleash its full potential, you need a lot of knowledge. Another drawback is that the Zodiac only works with the key characters corresponding to each symbol. It ranks here because although not many can use it, it can undoubtedly save everyone from a major apocalypse caused by Bill Cipher. The next object is a weapon created by 4 Pines, the Quantum Destabilizer. Despite its great power to disintegrate objects, it can be highly inaccurate and cause unintended damage. We know it's powerful because it was able to destroy Bill Cipher, but Ford himself mentioned that this weapon can only be used once. It's likely one of those weapons that take too long to charge for a second shot. And if you ask me, that's already a big negative point. This next artifact is the height-altering crystals. These become a very powerful weapon, since they can manipulate the height of objects or even people. These can be very helpful in gaining an advantage over others, because of course, being bigger also means having much more strength and endurance. It can even help in life or death situations, as it could be used to shrink down in size and escape. The big downside is that this effect can be temporary, and being something so unstable, it could be very difficult to control. And we couldn't leave out the memory gun. This is a gadget used by the Blind Eye Society, and its power is mainly to erase memories from people's minds. The big downside to this artifact is that after it's been used several times on the same person, they may lose their memory completely and even go insane. But we shouldn't underestimate its powers, as this weapon could save someone's life. The only drawback is that all the erased memories are stored in the memory canisters as video, and it's possible to reverse the effects by presenting the forgotten memories. Next, we have the mystical amulet, which we've seen in the hands of Gideon himself, and from what we know, it provides magical abilities like telekinesis. That means whoever possesses this amulet can manipulate objects with just their mind and force people to do things against their will. The downside to this amulet is that despite its very useful power, it also has significant disadvantages, as shown by Gideon. This amulet is too fragile, so everything floating can fall into the ground if the amulet breaks, or if the user's concentration is interrupted. The infinite-sided die is a type of die with infinite sides, and the power of this die is so incalculable that it's even banned in other dimensions due to what it can cause depending on the side it lands on. It's not an object you can play with, because due to its nature, anything can happen when this die is rolled. You could practically change anything in reality, but this brings disastrous consequences, and it can be highly unpredictable. It's not like you can foresee what will happen. Everything is random, and because there's no control over what might happen, that's why it ranks here, despite being extremely powerful. And of course, we can't leave out one of the most powerful objects, the Interdimensional Rift. We've seen how powerful this artifact can be during Weirdmageddon, as it almost caused an apocalypse. This artifact is capable of opening portals between dimensions, allowing travel to parallel universes. Another major drawback is that it can cause dimensional collisions. And more than being a powerful weapon, it would only serve to cause disasters in reality. So it's better to stay away from the Interdimensional Rift. Now we have to talk about the journals, which are incredibly powerful objects if used correctly. You can summon beings from other dimensions or find answers to the unknown, and the three journals complement each other, as journal number 1 contains very basic things. Some simply underestimated the artifact in this spot, and that's because the interdimensional portal is so powerful that it becomes quite dangerous. This machine allows you to travel practically anywhere in the universe, which means unlimited exploration and, of course, acquiring knowledge that no one else knows. All this information can lead to total chaos if used solely for evil. Because even though you can obtain this knowledge, this machine is also capable of opening portals to dangerous dimensions, which is a significant drawback, because we don't know what we might encounter, and everything in those dimensions is difficult to control. Another major disadvantage of this portal is that it can only be used by someone with substantial knowledge, as it requires a highly complex algorithm that can only be completed if you possess all the three journals. So, the power of this machine isn't just for anyone. The weapon in this spot is Bill Cipher's throne. We know that Bill can manipulate reality, and if he wishes, he can cause an apocalypse. The exact power of this artifact isn't known, but being Bill Cipher's, it undoubtedly has a great power. The downside is that not just anyone can obtain the throne, and it's only available to Bill Cipher. And we've reached the top spot. The most powerful weapon we can find in all of Gravity Falls is the Time Wish. This is a wish granted to the winner of Globnar, a gladiator combat in time, which is quite dangerous since only one can win. And it's quite a challenge considering the price, as this wish, unlike other weapons that can alter time, has no consequences or paradoxes. You can wish for anything without any restrictions, making it extremely dangerous, because although you have to take the risk and practically put your life on the line, you can change anything you want. It's incredibly ironic how the most powerful weapon ended up fulfilling such a silly wish as Zeus. But hey, we should be grateful that Bill Cipher didn't get his hands on it. And those were the most powerful objects in Gravity Falls. Let me know in the comments which one you think is the most powerful and why.